asking ChatGPT how to run a marketing agency. So I asked ChatGPT to ask me questions that most people doing $3,000 to $5,000 must be facing, and it's asked me some astoundingly good questions. So let's start with the first one, which is, what's the one decision that you made around pricing that significantly improved your agency's profitability? So there were primarily three such decisions that we took. The first one being value stacking, which is basically if you have multiple services, create a cute little bundle which is convertible and the market actually wants. And do not go out there with just siloed services, but combine them together to increase your average order value. As an example, if you are providing three services each marked at $1,000 each, do not sell them individually at $1,000 or create a bundle of $3,000. Go out there with a bundle which is priced somewhere between $2,200 to $2,700. That is going to make the customer feel safe that they are getting a slight discount as an overall compilation, and also be ensured that the entire value stack is going to be provided to them at a sweet price. So that's the first one. The second decision is pricing your services above the market average. So we get this question almost by every prospect that you guys are charging slightly higher than what most people are quoting, and that is a deliberate choice. You want less number of clients with less headache, giving you more money. The only way that that is possible if you ensure that your results and your marketing is above standards. If the results you are providing are way beyond the market average, and the marketing you are doing, the sales pitching you are doing is much better than what your competitors are doing, you will be able to justify that additional dollar that the customer is going to be paying for you. And they will do it happily if you ensure that the marketing is done right, adjacent to the pricing. And number three, which is not a price decision, but a conscious internal one, and that is not being desperate. Most service businesses go to the gutter because they become desperate after some time, going after clients who are not willing to pay the premium and are wanting cheap services. That is a race to the bottom that never ends. You will always have people who are wanting to beat your prices. So be premium, go for customers who are willing to pay for your prices, and do not end up in a price war. That is where quality and business ends. ChatGPT has asked me, how do you handle clients who are late on their payments without sounding desperate or ruining the relationship? Now, this is a very tricky problem to solve, and there is never a 100% solution to this. Almost every agency owner out there has faced this specific problem. I have faced this, you have faced this, everybody in the agency business has faced this. Now, the best way to solve this specific problem, first, is always charging at the beginning of the month. Make that as a non-negotiable in your sales calls, that you make sure that the customer knows at the very first interaction that you charge at the beginning of the month, and you can only go ahead with the association if you get paid in advance. What that makes sure is there is absolute clarity in terms of the commercial structure. Number two is putting these terms in contracts so that it is documented. There can be a lot of legal back and forth because of this, but make sure that this is primarily documented so that a customer can never deny your payment that is to be done at the beginning of the month. Third, which is, I believe, the most important, is to make the customer understand the importance of a marketing agency getting paid at the right time. Unlike other vendors that most businesses work with, which are manpower related or machinery related, agency owners have to work with talent pools. You work with copywriters, marketeers, creative people, media buyers, all of which are creative endeavors. And hungry hands do not do good marketing. That is something that you have to absolutely clarify with the prospect, that if your marketing team is not getting paid at the right time, they will not be able to put their 100% to the client's marketing activities. That makes emotional sense to the prospect as well, and make sure that they are on top of their payment cycles. This is how you can actually tackle the situation. It is not a solely technical problem, but an emotional one as well. You have to solve this with delicacy, and that is without sounding desperate, without sounding like you are someone who is threatening them to get the money. You have to make them realize the importance of getting paid in advance. This is how you solve this. The next question that ChatGPT has asked me is, at what point should an agency owner hire a full-time resource, and how do you know that you are ready? Now, this question takes me back to 2019 when we hired our very first resource. Now, the actual answer to this question is, when you as a founder are incapable of taking care of all the client calls, all the operations and all the sales calls together, that is the point before which you actually hire a resource. It could be based on your financials, and in turn, a person who is a junior or a person who is just in the training, or an expert as well. It entirely depends on the revenue that you are able to generate and the money that you have in the bank. But that usually comes down to after 2 to 3 clients, when you also have figured a little bit about the process, so that nobody that you are hiring can make an ass out of you, and also enough for you to be able to pay them. So I would say, technically speaking, after 3 to 4 clients, you should start delegating. The next question that chat has asked me is, what's a simple way to make your agency stand out in a sales pitch, especially when you are competing with 5 to 10 other agencies providing similar services? This is such an interesting question, and something we have answered for a student of ours about a year back. He was facing a similar problem, and after he implemented the solution that we gave him, he was able to close consistently just based on that one simple method, which we call the differentiating element. Ask yourself, what does your agency stand for? You have to stand for something in the end of the day, right? It can't all be just services. There are hundreds and thousands of people out there who are doing SEO, who are creating content, who are doing graphic designing, who are doing media buying. But as an agency, what do you stand for apart from your services? It could be timely delivery, it could be speed of delivery, it could be amazing communication, amazing results, and number of things. You have to package that and give your agency a personality. That is what is going to help them differentiate from n number of service providers, and you, not just a service provider, a result delivery machine. We have ourselves been doing this for the longest of time. The pillars that we base our own agency on are communication, amazing services, and speed of delivery. That is what our focus has always been. And every sales pitch, every result that we show, every testimonial, every case study that we put out there highlights these 3 to 4 pillars that we have based our entire agency on. And you should also think about that. The next question that chat has asked me is, what are the client red flags that you used to ignore early on and regretted later? And there are so many of them. So I'm going to tell them about 5 to 6 of them so that you do not face the same problem that we did. The first one are clients who do not pay in advance. People who just deny paying in advance. That is red flag number 1. If you are wanting a service to be rendered, you should be open to paying on the terms of the service provider. If the service provider charges at the beginning of the month, you should be open to it and looking in your finance structure how you can make that happen. Second are those who actually won't sign the contract. That's just shoddy, and that shows a little bit of unseriousness in their end. The third are desperate and impatient founders, people who are desperate for results, who do not have a long timeline but just a very short and impatient timeline to make the success happen. That always ends in disaster. People who do not understand logic, people who only think that all the problem that their business is facing is because of the agency's problem and nothing on their own. These are huge red flags which are very visible from the first sales calls. By the way, if you ask the right questions, all these red flags can be very visible. People who are very casual about their timelines, right? People who are like, okay, let's meet at 3 p.m. and then they are not appearing on the call and then just casually giving a call and then coming on 5 p.m. and then not actually committing to the conversation and the engagement. That is severely off-putting. And even if you take this client onwards, their timeline are going to impact the result and the morale that your team has as well, because they're never going to be there on time. The other red flag that I have faced, and this is something that we still see at times, are people who do not have a product market fit in their business, who are wanting to get your service, especially if your service aligns towards revenue generation. A product market fit is essential to scale that business up. If there is no PMF, then there is no profitability already, and any amount of marketing cannot solve that problem, because that is intrinsic to the business's own products, their own structures, their own operations, which marketing essentially cannot solve all the time. And last And this is a personal one, but gut feel. At times when you speak to a person, you get a gut feel. It can be a positive or a negative one. I have always relied on my gut feel, irrespective of the money that is being offered, and usually I'm proven right. Even if we take that association ahead, it usually turns into a bad one. If you feel in your gut that this person is not someone I vibe with, this person is not someone who I think I can do business in the long term with, do not take that. I can assure you it will end in headaches.